There is one phenomenon that scares some people, inspires others, and arouses suspicion among those who have never tried it: transformation of reality. Most people think it's about magic, visualization, or trying to get the world to do what they want. But the truth is that the transformation of reality is not mysticism. This is the internal engineering of human consciousness, energy, and behavior. This is not working with events, but with the level where events originate. Try to imagine that reality is a screen, and your thoughts, states, and habitual reactions are a remote control. But while a person lives on autopilot, the remote control is in the hands of old habits, fears, and emotional scenarios. They switch channels without your participation, so there are repetitive situations, strange events, and the same lifeline. When a person says that everything in his life is the same, it's not about the outside world. It's about the fact that the same program lives inside, and it doesn't change anything. Transformation begins the moment you first notice that you don't have to be what you automatically became. And this is the most difficult moment, because consciousness will pull you into a familiar image. For example, if a person is used to living in anxiety, it seems to him that anxiety is a reaction to the world. But the truth is that anxiety shapes that kind of world. And when a person changes their state, the world changes after them. To understand how reality transformation works, you need to understand several layers. The first layer is mental habits. They form the direction of attention. What a person looks at inside is bound to manifest on the outside. It's not magic, it's a mechanism. If a person has been living in anticipation of bad news for years, he begins to make decisions based on fear. He chooses the safe, he doesn't take risks, he avoids chances. And in the end, he gets a reality that matches his predictions, although he created them himself. The second layer is energy states. A person can say that he wants success, but if he vibrates at the survival level, his field cannot hold anything bigger. It's like trying to fill a ragged bucket. As long as the energy goes away through fear, comparison, self-depreciation, or guilt, the transformation stands still. Space reacts not to words, but to frequency. And if the frequency is low, life moves slowly or freezes altogether. The third layer is the self, image. This is the most hidden but the most important point. For example, if a person feels unworthy inside, he will sabotage everything that comes. He will devalue offers, delay actions, take the easy way out, or hide from opportunities. And he won't notice how he closes the door to the reality he's trying to get. This is not laziness or weakness. This is a conflict between the inner image and the desired line of life. The most interesting thing begins when a person first notices that reality changes when he changes. It happens unexpectedly. For example, a person stops making excuses to others, and suddenly he has new people. A person stops holding on to old relationships, and space brings new opportunities. A person ceases to be afraid of loneliness, and the need to impose himself on someone disappears. The outside world begins to reflect internal changes. Now let's talk about the practices, but not about those that have already been mentioned before. There are techniques that work at a level where events begin to change. One of these techniques is to change the orientation point. A person usually has 2 points: what's happening to me and who I want to be. Most of them live from the first one. For example, a person says, "It annoys me, it scares me, it's hard for me." But as soon as he transfers the point of orientation to the image of himself, everything changes. The question becomes, how does the person I want to be react? And reality begins to adjust to this new image. This is not a game. This is a reconfiguration of the internal trajectory. The second practice is the energetic cancellation of the scenario. It sounds complicated, but it works simply. When you notice that the same situation is repeating itself, conflict, failure, anxiety, you need to stop and physically step aside. Yes, literally. One step. This creates a gap in the pattern. This step tells the psyche, we are choosing a new path. After the step, you need to do an action that is the opposite of what you normally do. If you usually go into an experience, take a breath and relax your shoulders. If you usually make excuses, don't say anything. This action unfolds a lifeline. The third practice is to change the internal scene. This is a tool that is used in some schools to work with reality. Every person has a subconscious scene, where he stands, where the world stands, where the future stands. If a person puts himself in a position lower or further, his desires do not reach. You need to close your eyes and imagine that you are coming to the fore, that you're standing in the center of your stage, that you're choosing a direction. It looks like a visualization, but it works differently. This is an adjustment of the internal geometry. The fourth practice is energy unloading, not the release of emotions, not the utterance, but the physical switching of vibration. For example, contrasting water, or a sudden movement, or a change of space. When a person changes their physical condition, the frequency also changes, and events begin to flow in a different way. It works especially hard when you feel like you're stuck in one state. The fifth practice is guided pauses. It's the ability to stop an action when you feel like you're being carried away. A pause is not a weakness. It is a moment of connection with oneself. If you pause consciously, space begins to reveal clues. The pause regains control of the trajectory. Now let's talk about things that few people understand. Not all wishes should come true. It sounds strange, but it's true. Some desires lack an energy base. Others come as compensation for pain. A person wants recognition because there is emptiness inside. He wants success because he's afraid of being nobody. He wants a perfect relationship because there is a trauma of loneliness inside. If desire is born out of scarcity, transformation does not work because space does not support emptiness. It maintains completeness. Those desires that coincide with your line of development really come true. When desire comes from the depths, you feel calm. There is no tension, no need to control, no struggle. You just keep moving and you know that everything will come. This is the state of transformation. When reality ceases to be something external and becomes an extension of your inner state, there is one more important point. Transformation is not about what you want to get. It's about what you become in the process. Reality always gives to the one who is ready to keep the result. For example, if a person wants a lot of money, but his psychological and energy structure cannot withstand a large scale, the money will either not come or leave. Reality never gives you something that will destroy a person. She gives what a person can hold on to, and a person is held back only by what he is ready for internally. Therefore, the transformation of reality is not a manipulation of the world. This is the development of internal power. It's a realignment of how you think, feel, react, and choose. It's about changing who you are. In order for the transformation to start, 3 conditions must be met. The first is honesty. If a person deceives himself, space mirrors this deception. The second is responsibility. When a person stops blaming others, he regains his strength. The third is the condition. If you can keep calm in the chaos, you can change your reality. Reality changes not when you fight for results, but when you stop vibrating at the level of fear, when you stop clinging to the past, when you know how to let go, when you choose not a reaction, but a position, when you keep your attention not on the problem, but on the direction. The key truth of reality transformation is that it begins imperceptibly. First, the little things change, thoughts, reactions, inner tone. Then events begin to change. People who took away energy disappear. New circumstances appear. Doors open that did not exist before. Then the feeling of oneself changes. And when the feeling of oneself changes, the whole world changes. You don't make reality work. You become a person for whom this reality is a natural response. If you want to continue to understand these processes in depth, please like, subscribe, and write in the comments which layer of your reality you want to start changing first.